So today turned out to be a day to work in the garden. Why? Because we have no electricity and we have no internet. Two systems went down at the same time. But you know what? That was a good thing because I got to go and work in my garden, not have to think about anything else. So today I decided to work a little bit more in the garden, and let me show you what I've done here. So my goal was to get the spice finches that are wild here to eat spray millet. This is kind of what they would be used to. See how this is growing on the plant itself? This is a small type of millet. They eat that, but they don't know what spray millet is that you would buy for your pet canaries or finches or budgies, whatever you want. So what I've done is I put some of these metal clips here to hold it. And the big thing I did was break it into pieces. So this way, when they're picking around on what they like and they're familiar with, they'll pick up this and start to eat it because they have not touched the spray millet at all. They don't know what it is. I mean, doesn't that look foreign if you're used to eating that? What is this big thing? Well, now, today, finally, success, waiting for the power to go on, they started to eat that. So now they know what this is, which is really nice because on rainy days, when you can't put a lot of seed out, you know, it's harder, but you can still do it. This can hang. It doesn't matter if seed gets wet. Nature reigns, right? Things get wet. Birds don't mind rain. They don't even mind their seed wet because they're going to eat it wet or dry. Think about it. They're eating green seed growing. That's a damp version of dry seed. In fact, they prefer that. But you don't want the seed to be underwater. Now this bowl has got holes. We probably can't see it, barely, but there's holes in the bowls. I take a soldering iron and I just make a hole. You can do it with a hot knitting needle or whatever way you want to do it. Or you could drill bowls with holes, and this way the water comes out. When the water comes out, this seed will be wet when it's raining, but it won't fill with water because birds are not going to dive bomb underwater to get their food. That they will not do. Let me kind of move out of here. They are going to do one thing, and they just want to come in and eat their seed. So now they're comfortable and they can come in on a rainy day. Seed gets wet, they're going to eat it. Will seed rot if it gets wet? If it was sitting for about 3 days, it will. Other than that, it could start to sprout, and they'll eat it sprouted if it's wet. But if it stayed wet and they weren't eating it, yeah, it could rot. At that point, you want to wash the bowl out and start over. So don't worry about rain. Snow is different because that will bury their seed. So you'd want to put a little shelter over it if you've got snow. And then this way, snow won't fall on the seed. But don't worry about the wet. The wet won't hurt anything because they're used to that. They're used to anything nature provides them with. And if they provide them with rain, then they don't care about wet seed. But I think what was great is, look at this. Today, when all the spice finches came in, they have finally discovered the spray millet, which is really good. I really was so happy about that because I know that once they start to eat it, they would really enjoy it and like it. So that worked out really well. And now I can put that out. It is a little pricier than regular seed to buy, but I don't have to put it out all the time. A couple sprigs here and there. And then on the rainy days, I can hang it in the trees or hang it on the branches, and they can come and hang off of it and eat because it's not going to even be in a bowl. It's just going to get wet. Any of it falls to the ground, it grows. And that's a win-win. So I hope I gave you some tips and ideas. Work with your birds if they're not eating something. It's the same thing with the hummingbirds. If the hummingbirds don't know your bird feeder, they're not going to feed from it. They're going to go to something that they're familiar with and something they see all the time. So if you do want to use a fancy one or something that is not the usual bird feeder, kind of keep that one near what they're feeding on so they'll test it. And once they test it, then you can get them to eat out of pretty much anything you want. I mean, after all, here they eat out of all kinds of bird feeders, the hummingbirds, because they come in, they feed from the regular feeders, and then they look at this and what is this that you put out? And they test it. And it's like, oh, there's food in there. That's really cool. So you can train your wild birds to eat good seed or eat out of a different feeder as long as you work at it, like you're training a dog or your cat. Can you train a cat? I guess you can. And you're going to train them that this is good for you too, and just try it. So with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. And the power's back on now, and so is the internet. So I get to post this. Bye-bye.